Hi, Jeff DeHaan here from the Go Home Spot, bringing you my match of the week. I touched on it a little bit on the show this week. We'll put a link below to the show if you haven't heard it yet. But my match of the week was the main event from NXT. Bobby Roode in what's presumably his final NXT match, at least on NXT television, taking on Roderick Strong. Very, very good match. Really dug this one this week. Not quite as good as their NXT Championship match that they had a few weeks ago, but still very good nonetheless. The only problem, and the only thing that really kind of made it not quite as good as their last match, is it didn't quite have the same emotion to it. I guess because Roode had lost the title, and they went through the whole brief feud with Drew McIntyre. I feel like this feud kind of lost a little bit of steam. I think that could have been easily rectified had they held off on Roode's SmackDown debut. He debuted on SmackDown a couple weeks ago, and if they had held off until after this match, it might have been a little different, because he was playing a heel role for this whole time in NXT, but he's a babyface on SmackDown. Plus, because he's already debuted on SmackDown, the crowd at Full Sail knew this was going to be one of his last, if not his last, NXT match. So the crowd was all over Bobby. There was "Let's go Bobby" chants, "Thank you Bobby," just Bobby, Bobby. The crowd was for Roode the entire time. That being said, and in defense of the Full Sail crowd, unlike, say, a Brooklyn crowd or something like that, while they were cheering Roode the entire time, they weren't against Roderick Strong, if that makes sense. Like, he still got pops whenever he'd make a comeback. He still got pops for some great spots that he did. So that was good to see. It's not like they turned on Strong. They just obviously were showing their respect for Roode, which is cool. But again, if he hadn't debuted on SmackDown yet, that might not have been as strong of a reaction, which, being that Bobby is a heel, I would have seen as a better situation. How I would have done it, if I can put my fantasy booker hat on for a moment, is, as I said, held off on Roode debuting on SmackDown and built the emotion back up. Since this angle lost a little momentum with the Drew McIntyre Bobby Roode feud, I would have tried to build that momentum up, because this feud was never about the title. It was always about it being personal. It was about Strong's family, it was about respect, and it was about Strong fighting for what he believed in and fighting for that respect and for the honor of his family. And you could obviously still do that. They just had to build it back up. So I would have had maybe a promo or two, like the first show after TakeOver. I would have had them each have maybe a backstage promo. Considering it was a pre-tape from the TakeOver, I would have just had promos or something to build things up. And then for this week, instead of McIntyre and Strong having a promo in the ring, you could have had Roode in there and had a back and forth between the two, and have it finally be one of them, probably Bobby Roode, saying, "You know what? NXT's not big enough for the both of us. You want to make this personal? Let's make it a loser leaves NXT match." Then you have that personal stake built back into the match. You have Roode not having debuted on SmackDown yet, so he still has that heel element to him, and the crowd might not be behind him as much. Now, granted, with the stipulation of a loser leaves NXT match, it's obvious that Roode's probably going to lose anyway, since he just dropped the title as well. But he's still not playing a babyface on a different show, so the heel factor is still there. And then you have the match, same as is, which, as I said, was a great match. And then you have that emotion, and then the crowd has a na na na, hey hey, goodbye moment if they want it. That's how I would have done it. But I wouldn't have changed the match itself. The match itself was very good, very well wrestled. It was different from their first one and not quite as good. But if I can make a lofty comparison, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker 1 at WrestleMania wasn't quite as good as the second match. But the second match was still special in its own right as well. This is sort of the same thing. Much smaller scale, all due respect to Rude and Strong. Their title match from a month ago was good. It was very good. This one, not quite so, but this was still an excellent match. But that's my take. What do you think? You can let me know at the Go Home Spot or at DeHaan of Fate. I'd love to know what you thought. See you next week. Peace.